All right. What up, you hammer niggas? It's your boy Yanko Zaza here today with the PGN. PGN is now official. We are official LLC. That happened on Friday. I shared the news with you, but we're doing something different today. I have a guest here. He is a good friend, my good friend Kosh Ram. Uh, Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Zaza, thanks a lot for having me on. Um, yeah, during the school year, I'm a paraprofessional and I work at an after school program. And during the summer, I work at a summer school and a summer camp. And I'm also an author and I
Mhm.
self publish books on Amazon. And my new book is called The Coworkers. I have a copy right here. So, came out last week and I'm pretty excited about it.
Okay. Um, can you tell me what your book is about?
Yeah, so it's about this guy named Neil who gets this job at an elementary school as a paraprofessional, and he ends up working with this wacky teacher. Her name is Miss L, and she does lots of strange things. There's clearly something off about her. And he's also assigned to work with a second grader named Lee. So that's basically what the first part is about. But eventually, he gets himself in a very bad financial situation.
Mhm.
He self-publishes a book on Amazon and he spends a lot of money on it, like the cover, the editing, the ghostwriting, and he tries to get his money back, but his book is not selling. So he's like thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, and he needs a second job to pay off his debt. And so he gets his second job at the after-school program, which is
Mhm.
same building as the para job. And
Yep.
once he starts to work at aftercare, that's when things just go downhill from there. Things just go horribly wrong. All the drama starts, and he does not get along with his coworkers. And yeah, it's pretty bad.
Um, what inspired you to write this book? Because I've read it. I think it's a very fantastic book. As we were talking offline about it, I was like, "Yo, this is actually really entertaining." I started at chapter one, and I got to like chapter 23 in like maybe 5 hours. Like I was just engulfed in it. And what inspired you to write this?
Yeah, so the book is loosely based on my experience at this elementary school from September of 2022 until June of 2024. And unfortunately, there were some dramatic situations that I experienced for both the para job and the aftercare job. So some chapters in this book are nonfiction and some chapters are fiction. And obviously, the characters that are based on real people, I changed their names.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like those situations were so noticeable. And I feel like the more noticeable a situation is, the more motivated I am to write about it. So I have to admit, it was pretty therapeutic.
That was wonderful, bro. Um, Anyway, the book is 106 chapters long, and it's more than 500 pages. I have no problem with it. Did you know it would be this long?
I knew the book would be long because I wrote an outline before I started writing the book, and when I wrote the outline, it was only supposed to be like 83 chapters, but then as I was writing it, more ideas crossed my mind, and so that's why it ended up being 106 chapters, and paperback is little more than 500 pages. Kindle is 564 pages. So yeah, it turned out to be a bit longer than I thought it would be, but I still feel good about it because I wrote everything I wanted to write. I didn't want to like release the book and think, oh, I wish I wrote about this. I wish I wrote about that. So I'm glad that I wrote everything I wanted to write just to feel satisfied about it.
That's wonderful, bro. Um, what is your writing process like? Like, do you write every day? Like, because I've seen you wrote multiple books. I remember when I first met you, you were an author on Amazon and stuff like that. So I just want to know what's your process like? Do you write every day? Is it fun?
Yeah, I wish I could write every day, to be honest with you, because I think that's what most authors do. But unfortunately, I only write on Saturdays and Sundays. I know that's hard to believe because this book is really long. So I think a lot of people would assume, like, well, duh, this book is more than 500 pages. You obviously write every day. But the thing is, like, I work long hours at the school. My hours are 8:30 to 6:30 Monday through Friday. So by the time I come home at like 6:45, I'm just really exhausted and I don't have the energy to write. So yeah, my writing is usually Saturdays and Sundays, and obviously when school is closed, like Martin Luther King Day or President's Day, you know, obviously I wrote on those days, or winter break, spring break, I wrote on those days. But usually it's just Saturdays and Sundays. But I try to write at least 4,000 to 5,000 words each day, because I cannot write Monday through Friday. I have to be a
Yep.
streak writer on the weekends.
Mhm.
So so yeah, it's been working out. Sometimes I write at the Milburn Library, sometimes I write at home. So it just depends on where I feel like writing.
All right. The Weekend Writer. That's what I'm gonna start following you. The Weekend Writer. Um, do you know the twist at the end of the book?
Yeah. So for me, when I'm starting a book at the beginning and when I'm writing the outline, I always know how my books are going to end. Like the epilogue or the last chapter at the very end of the book, I always know how it's going to end. But in terms of like the twists and the turns, I know what most of the twists are going to be in advance. However, sometimes like some twists cross my mind when I'm like halfway through the book, and I think, you know what, maybe that twist would be better than the original idea I had in mind. So I would say I know most of the twists in advance, but some of them just cross my mind as I go along.
Right. Um, I know you authors love your cliffhangers. How important is it to have a cliffhanger at the end of each chapter? Because even for me, it made me want to read and keep going. That's why I didn't stop for so long on that Friday.
Oh man, cliffhangers are so important in my opinion. I mean, if you're an author and you're writing a book and you want your readers to keep reading, you have to have a crazy cliffhanger at the end of each chapter. And initially, when I wrote the book, the first draft was actually different because each chapter took place on a certain day.
Mhm.
And the crazy cliffhanger was actually, well, it wasn't really a cliffhanger, but the crazy part was in the middle of each chapter. And it was less entertaining that way. So what I did was I had to go back, reread the whole first draft, get rid of the dates, and then I put the crazy part in the middle of the chapter. I put it to the end of the chapter. And it just turned out to be so much better. I mean, yeah, it was time consuming, but I thought that it was worth it. My aunt was actually reading it yesterday, and she screenshotted a cliffhanger at the end of like chapter 11, I think it was, and she goes, "Oh my god, that cliffhanger drove me crazy. Now I have to keep reading." So I think cliffhangers are really important. I mean, I've read lots of books with cliffhangers at the end of each chapter that made me want to read the whole book in like 2 3 days. So that's what I want people to do. I want people to read my books in 2 to 3 days.
Okay. Yeah. It got me hooked. And that's probably one of the first books I've read in a long time. But listen, man, keep doing what you're doing. And we're moving on. Most of the book is written in first person, but why are there some parts written in third person?
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I wrote The Apartment, which was the first book of the Neil series, the entire book was written in first person from Niels's perspective. And then
Mhm.
when I wrote The Caregiver, most of the chapters are narrated by Neil, but some chapters are narrated by Priya, some chapters are narrated by Lacey. Um, but with this book, I decided to write most of the chapters in first person from Neil's perspective, just so the readers understand what's going on in his mind and what his thoughts are. But some of the chapters are written in third person just because I wanted the readers to understand what was happening outside of Neil's world. So, um, and at first I wasn't really sure if that was allowed or not, but I read this book called I Will Find You by Harlan Coben, and most of the chapters are narrated in first person from Lincoln's perspective, but there are chapters narrated in third person from other characters' perspective. I just think it's good for the readers because you have a better understanding of what's happening from the other character's point of view. But it was really cool. Though. It was fun because there's parts where like a chapter is narrated by Neil and he's looking at a character on the playground that's like 30
Mhm.
feet away, and then the other part is narrated in third person by that character who's looking at Neil. So as a reader, I think it's enjoyable because you understand multiple perspectives by multiple characters.
Okay, well, listen, keep doing what you're doing. Very entertaining book. I'm here for the next one. What made you to decide to release this book on Friday, June 20th?
Yeah, so the decision for me to release the book on Friday, June 20th was a very easy decision for me to make just because the last day of the school year was Thursday, June
Mhm.
19th. And I just wanted multiple good things to happen at the same time. And, when uh, I was hanging out with some people and basically I was just sharing like multiple good things that were happening. And it was funny too because one of my students actually knew about the book that I was writing. I didn't really tell him what it was about, but he's like very enthusiastic. So I approached him on the last day of school and I said, "Hey, it's nice working with you. I hope you have a nice summer." And he looked at me and he said, "Mr. Ram, I hope you have a nice summer too. And I hope your new book is a #1 bestseller." I thought that was so funny, and I thought that was so cute when he said that. And like after he's having lunch, like I would walk him in the hallway because he loves to go for walks. And like on Monday, for example, a few months ago, he goes, "So, how's your book going?" And I'm like, "Oh, last night I wrote chapter 80." And then he was like, "So does that mean you're on chapter 81?" And then like the next day we're walking in the hallway, he goes, "Oh, so are you on chapter 82?" So he was like so down to earth about it. But yeah, it was just cool though because I was celebrating both things. I was celebrating the fact that I finished my third year as a paraprofessional, which is a three-peat basketball analogy, three-peat. You
Yep.
know, Michael Jordan got two three-peats. I got a three-peat at the elementary school. So,
There you
um,
go.
and then my new book is out, so it just made sense for me to release it on that day. And I'm glad. And the thing I love about self-publishing is that when you're a self-published author, you get to release your books whenever you want. Whereas with traditional publishing, you have to get permission from your publishing company or your literary agent.
Mhm.
But self-publishing, you can just release them whenever you want. So June 20th, it was perfect. Even on my newsletter, it said last day of school, my new book is out. So it's just great to celebrate multiple things.
Right. And I think one of the big questions that everyone has, and especially someone like me, will there be a fourth book to the Neil series? I think we need another one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so I am working on a fourth one, and and I actually just finished working on the outline yesterday at the Melbourne Library.
Okay.
Um, Initially, the Coworkers was supposed to be the third book of the Neil series, and it was supposed to be a trilogy. But then, unfortunately, some things happened during this previous school year um, that were really bothering me, and I thought
Uh-huh.
I just have to write a fourth book. So
Yep.
I am going to work on a fourth book, and hopefully, I'll release it by like the fall or by December. It is going to be a bit shorter though, because this book, The Coworkers, even though I'm obviously like super proud of it, it is obviously really long, and so I think with the next one it'll be shorter. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it though. It's going to be, I think it's going to be as dramatic, if not more dramatic, than the third one.
So this one was dramatic. I can't wait for the next one. Anyway, what are your marketing strategies like?
Yeah, so there's basically three things that I do. Um, First, when my book is released on Amazon, I put it on free promotion.
Uh-huh.
And while it's on free promotion for a few days, that's when I get reviews. There are certain websites that self-published authors can go on where you give reviews in order to get reviews for your book. Perfectly legal, perfectly common.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then as a result, my books go pretty high on the chart when it's on free promotion. Like I posted on, I don't know if you saw this, but I posted on my Amazon that
Yeah.
book #6 in suspense, action, and adventure. I thought that was really cool. Um, and so, yeah, so that's the first thing. And I just think that's super important because there's a lot of people out there that click on the free section of the book categories because they want to read free books. And if it's high on the chart, it's more noticeable.
Yep.
So I just think that's super important because you get more sales that way. And when your book is on free promotion, it counts as a sale. So even though you're not making any money, it still goes up in the charts. Um, and the second thing I do is I write my newsletter and I send it out each weekend. And That's how I'm able to get subscribers. And basically, what I do is I go on this website called BookFunnel, and I make sure that my book is part of certain group promos, and I create landing pages as well for my book. So I put the landing pages for my books and the group promos from BookFunnel onto the newsletter, and it looks very professional and appealing. So when people look at it, they can just click on the link, like check out my reading magnet, click on it, check out a free copy of my book. If you want to read a free copy, you could be a subscriber to my newsletter. So that's how I get subscribers. This is the link to the group promo. Click on the link below so you can see like 10 cover pages and you can click on it. So that's how I get more subscribers and build an audience. And the third thing that I do is I advertise my book on Facebook groups, which I think is important because there's so many people in some of these Facebook groups. And I'm also going to start to run not Amazon ads, Facebook ads. I was running Amazon ads for some of my books, but it was very confusing. And so I decided to not run Amazon ads anymore. But I am going to start running Facebook ads. And there's actually a video on the BookFunnel website that explains how to run Facebook ads. So I'm going to start doing that later today, and hopefully it'll work. But I feel like I'm off to a pretty good start.
That's wonderful, bro. And I love hearing all your marketing strategies. I might try them out myself. Um, and last but not least question. Who are your favorite authors?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of authors that I like. Daniel Hurst is my favorite.
Uh-huh.
I've literally read like 37 books by Daniel Hurst. I mean, it's insane. I
Uh-huh.
found out about him last November, and I've read lots of his books since then. Um, I found out about him through Frida McFadden's Facebook group.
Uh-huh.
And I read lots of her books as well. Frida McFadden is my second favorite author. I've read like 25 of her books. Um, Harlan Coben is another author I really like. I read lots of his books. I've watched lots of his TV shows on Netflix and Amazon Prime that are based on his books. I Will Find You. They're making a TV show based on that book, and I cannot wait for that show to come out because that book was super duper addictive. So much action. Let's see. I like AJ Campbell. Some of her books are really good. Sarah Alderson is another author that I really like. The Cabin in the Woods is my favorite by
Uh-huh.
her. Z. David is another author that I like, even though she's not too famous. Her books are really good as well. So, um, Lisa Jewell is another one that I like. But Daniel Hurst is definitely my favorite. And I know this is going to sound kind of crazy and surprising, but I had emailed Daniel Hurst about some advice about marketing strategies and how his books got famous because he started out as a self-published author like me, and then eventually his books got super famous. So a traditional publishing company called Bookouture signed him. So now obviously he's like more famous. But I asked him, and miraculously, Zaza, he responded to my email, which I was super grateful about, and he answered all of my questions. He said he used BookFunnel just like me. He used MailerLite to send out his newsletters just like me. He used group promos and author swaps just like me. So he said, listen, Kosh, just keep doing what you're doing, and eventually you'll get more subscribers. I was super grateful and super thankful. And I told him I'm a huge fan. I've read lots of your books, and you inspire me. So that to me was like a really special moment, and it really increased my confidence and my self-esteem.
And once again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to sit here with PGN. You're our first guest as we got our first LLC, so I'm so happy for you. When your book comes out in the fall, I look forward to having you on again. And I just want to say thank you, bro. Thank you for this time.
Oh, my pleasure. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
All right. And PGN Pod will be out later. I'll be here with Scumbag McGee, but this is something I wanted to do and something I'm going to continue to do. Having people like Kosh and authors and whoever wants to come on, PGN's the place to be. Thank you guys for tuning in. And follow us on PGN social media, Twitter, PGN Pod. YouTube is bringing the real TV. Thank you guys for all of that. And Kosh, if you want to say your platforms for the people to follow you on.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and my books are available on Amazon. So it's very simple. You just go on Amazon, you type in Kosh Ram, and then this book, out of all the books that I have available on Amazon, this one is currently the most popular one. And technically, it is the third book of the Neil series,
Uh-huh.
but it can be read as a standalone book. So it's recommended if you read the first two before you read the third one, but you don't necessarily have to. I just thought that was important. That way, people can read the third book and enjoy it. So, all
All right. Thank you once again. PGN Pod, you're out. Thank you, Ray.